Alright guys, hope you're doing well. My name is Rowlands and I'm a nutritional balancing practitioner, and in this video I'm going to talk about Hppd, which stands for Hallucinogen Persisting Perception Disorder. And this basically happens when people take hallucinogens and psychedelics, and they tend to get this disorder whereby the trip, or which is usually what you would call a bad trip, sort of persists. But what's interesting about Hppd is that I sort of am quite attached to it in one way, because I suffered from visual snore for many years, and starting from 14, I'm now 28, and it's only been in the last year where I've actually understood what causes visual snore. And what causes visual snore is complex. It's to do with liver toxicity, it's to do with vitamin A regulation, but in basic terms, the liver's toxic, and the liver basically stops producing or stops regulating vitamin A properly, and vitamin A is needed in the brain and in the eyes to convert electrical signals into light signals. Now, I've been working on my liver for years and years and years. One of the reasons why visual snore is so hard to get rid of is because it's a liver toxicity problem, and to fix the liver takes a long time, and that's why it's took me a long time to figure it out. And one of the ways I did figure it out is, one, I fixed my liver. My liver was mainly damaged through Accutane, which ironically is a synthetic form of vitamin A. I did do a lot of drugs. I wasn't into my hallucinogens, so I didn't have any experience with Hppd. But as I healed my liver, I noticed a trend. When I would do things that would make my liver detox, I would get an increase of visual snore. And then afterwards, when my liver would rest and, have some energy, my visual snore decreased. And in the first maybe 5 years, or even 10 years, I suppose 5 years starting from when I first got it when I was 14, 15, to actually healing, which was another, 5, 6, 7 years, but 5 years really was just concentrating on healing my liver. It took me a long time to figure out that my liver had a connection to visual snore, and it's one of the reasons why I did a video a few years back now talking about copper toxicity and the likely links to visual snore. And if people noticed on that video, the title says a likely link. I was not, it wasn't set in stone back then that copper toxicity caused visual snore. I just knew it had some sort of link, and it does have a link. And that video still stands true. That's why I haven't removed it. But I recently made a video about visual snore and the liver, and as you would imagine, everyone starts shouting, "Don't listen to this guy, he's talking rubbish, blah blah blah." And these people don't realise I've been in this game for like 12, 13 years. I've healed on extremely deep levels, and I've made a huge connection between the liver, vitamin A, and visual snore. And I'm very, very confident that that's the case. If people need to heal the liver in order to heal visual snore. It's the same goes for floaters. Floaters are a liver problem. And yeah, whenever I would, I did have slip-ups and cheats on the program, and whenever I would do something that would make my liver struggle or would be under stress, I would get a return of the floaters and the visual snore. Floaters used to be most notably drinking alcohol, and visual snore in general used to be just general stress on the body. That's why it took me a long time to figure out it was actually the liver, because any amount of stress used to increase my visual snore. The reason why I'm saying all this stuff is it's sort of foundation for what I'm going to talk about next, which is Hppd. where basically people take an hallucinogen and they wake up the next day and they have this persistent visual snow, floaters after images, and they don't know where it comes from. And a lot of people have rang me up in the past or emailed me because they've seen my videos on visual snow or after images or floaters, and they've said, oh, I think I've got the same as you, but I got it by taking this drug. It's called Hppd, and I always used to say to these people, well, I'm not entirely sure what's happened, but I do know that I've healed these issues, and I'm fairly confident that you can do the same. And lo and behold, these people started the program who've got Hppd, and their symptoms improved, which was amazing. But I never was an expert in Hppd because I didn't have that. Okay, so in the UK, we have magic mushrooms. That is our sort of natural drug of choice, I suppose. And in the autumn season, the magic mushrooms come out, and literally everyone picks magic mushrooms in the fields. So I had the pleasure, or the displeasure, over the weekend, of seeing someone basically overdose on magic mushrooms. They had way too many magic mushrooms. And these people, this person was, I was out with friends, and this person ate too many mushrooms, and they was having what you would call a bad trip. So I naturally was trying to help this person, and doing reflexology, getting this person to drink. And I was starting to realise that although yes, this person was clearly clearly had way too many mushrooms, they wasn't having what I would call a bad trip, if that makes sense. A bad trip is usually seeing scary things, everything feels dark, clearly there was experiencing some darkness, but they was complaining about the body, talking about how the body feels like it's shutting down. And I asked them some questions. 2 minutes, we've got an ambulance coming through here. I asked them some questions. I don't think it's going to get through. There we go. So I asked this person some questions, and I was saying to them, is your mouth dry? And they were saying, yeah, my mouth is really, really dry. And because this person was drinking tons of water and they weren't coming down from this bad trip. I mean, this was going on for like 2 hours, 3 hours. And this is like weird. They was drinking liters of water, and they still had a dry mouth. And I was saying, well, your kidneys sound like they're really struggling. They sound like they're under a lot of stress. And then I asked them other questions. Do you feel wired? Is your body wired? It's like, yeah, my body's wired. Clearly this person was in fight or flight. Their adrenal glands were under a lot of stress. So I was saying to this person, you've clearly had a lot of mushrooms and you're clearly having a bad trip. At the same time, I feel like you've overwhelmed your system, you've overwhelmed your organs. It cannot handle the amount of mushrooms that you just eat, that you just ate. And I said to them, how are your eyes? Can you see all right? And this person said to me, my vision's grainy, my vision's dark and grainy. And I was like, well, I know from my own experience with grainy vision that's a liver issue, and I feel like your body's overwhelmed. The body cannot detoxify and get this out of its system. So anyway, I come to the conclusion that, yeah, clearly they was having a bad trip, but at the same time, their body was overloaded by these mushrooms and they couldn't handle it, basically. So, I got them slowly drinking water. I was doing reflexology on them. I got them to lie down, which was challenging at the time, but got them to lie down. And all of a sudden, within the space of 15-20 minutes, this person had been in a really, really bad position for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours, and they just come down really fast, as if like, I think the reflexology, a little bit like a toilet when it's clogged up. They had a backlog of toxins that the body couldn't deal with, and the body just needed a little bit of massage, and it just, all the clog just went, and literally within the space of 15-20 minutes, they just was normal again. Quite a scary experience, pretty close to calling the ambulance. This person had left, by the way. They had a lot of mushrooms and they had left. They said, I'm just going to go for a walk, and they had left, and we just thought that there was whatever, and they come back like 2 hours later saying that I've just had the worst 2 hours of my life, so they've been going through this for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and luckily we managed to deal with this person. Anyway, the day after, I called this person up to check up on them, and I asked them, I says, how are you feeling? How's your eyes? How's your mouth? And they said to me, I've still got this grainy vision. I've got a dry mouth. I feel wired. And I says, yeah. I says, your organs was under stress, massive amounts of stress. And it sounds like now he's suffering from something called Hppd, which luckily for you, I'd actually know quite a lot about, even though I've not been through it. So anyway, I actually got this person to take some things like echinacea. I got them to do some reflexology. I got them to take some milk thistle for their liver. And they're actually a member down at the gym that I go to. That do sauna therapy, and I got them to come down and come in the sauna with me, and I was saying that I was explaining to the person what's happened, and I was saying we need to detoxify your liver quickly because you're going to get this persistently. This is going to be a persistent problem. So anyway, this person slowly over the next few days started to return back to normal. I think the vision's still a little bit grainy, but I told them keep doing what I tell you to do, and hopefully we'll be able to tackle the issue. But they've really improved since they went through that experience at the weekend. So that's why I wanted to make this video, because I know I'm right when I say that visual snort and floaters and Hppd are caused by liver toxicity. And when you have a bad trip, yes, you clearly are having a bad trip, at the same time your body's overloaded. It cannot handle all of it's a toxin, it turns into a toxin. Even if it's natural, it turns into a toxin when there's too much of it in the system. So that's what I wanted to say to you guys. It's just more evidence of what I'm saying with the liver. Please be aware that I'm not making up some random theory. I've known about this. I've known about it extremely deeply for over 14 years, 15 years. That's a long time. So anyway, if you are suffering from Hppd, then give me a shout. Get yourself in a nutritional balancing program, heal the liver, heal the adrenal glands, heal the kidneys, and that's, in my opinion, the best chance of overcoming this problem. So if you're interested, just send me an email, Lewis, Lewis @deephealingspace.com, or visit our website, www.deephealingspace.com. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and speak to you soon.